The cafeteria of Station Kepler 442b buzzed with the usual mixture of alien languages, creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and harmonic tones that had become background noise to Adnan Khan over the past 6 months. He sat quietly in the corner, methodically consuming his synthetic protein meal while observing the diverse collection of beings that called this research outpost home. Kinza Mahmood slid into the seat across from him, her tray clattering softly against the metallic table. Her dark eyes sparkled with barely contained amusement as she leaned forward conspiratorially. "You'll never guess what I overheard in the xenobiology lab today," she whispered in Urdu, knowing that none of the other species present could understand their native tongue. Adnan raised an eyebrow, setting down his utensil. "What now?" "The Zephyrians are absolutely terrified," Kinza continued, struggling to keep her voice low. "Apparently there are rumors spreading throughout the station about a Deathworlder among us." The irony wasn't lost on either of them. For the past half-year, they had been the only humans aboard the research station, carefully maintaining their cover as members of the peaceful Altarian species through advanced biomimetic disguises. The technology, developed by Earth's Intelligence Division, altered their appearance just enough to pass casual inspection, while allowing them to gather crucial intelligence on the galactic community's activities. "What kind of rumors?" Adnan asked, though he suspected he already knew. Kinza's grin widened. The usual Deathworlder mythology. Stories about beings from high-gravity planets who can survive impossible conditions, possess supernatural strength, and heal from wounds that would kill any civilized species. Dr. Vexhai was practically molting with fear as he described the monster that supposedly walks among us. Dr. Vexhai, a prominent Zephyrian xenobiologist, had been one of their primary sources of information. The bird-like alien's nervous disposition made him particularly susceptible to gossip and speculation, which had proven invaluable for their mission. "The best part," Kinza continued, "is that they think this Deathworlder is planning something sinister. Some kind of infiltration or reconnaissance mission." Adnan couldn't help but chuckle softly. If only they knew how right they were, albeit for entirely different reasons than they imagined. Earth's first contact protocols required extensive intelligence gathering before revealing humanity's existence to the broader galactic community. The stories of violent, primitive Deathworlders that dominated alien media had made this approach seem prudent. "Did they mention any specific characteristics of this supposed Deathworlder?" he asked. "Oh, the usual impossibilities," Kinza replied, taking a bite of her meal. "Apparently they can survive in atmospheric compositions that would poison normal life forms, withstand temperature fluctuations that would freeze or boil most species' blood, and their bone density is so extreme they could probably survive direct impacts that would pulverize a crystalline." As if summoned by their conversation, a group of crystalline researchers at a nearby table began discussing the same topic. Their translucent, silicon-based bodies shimmered with agitated colors as they spoke in hushed musical tones. "I heard from a trader on Proxima Station that one of these Deathworlders once survived explosive decompression," one of them chimed. "Simply held their breath and waited for rescue." Another Crystalline's form flickered with what Adnan had learned was their equivalent of skepticism. "Surely that's impossible. No carbon-based life form could survive such trauma. Unless," interjected a third, "they evolved on a world so hostile that such extremes became normal survival conditions." Kinza shot Adnan a meaningful look. They both knew that humans could indeed survive brief exposure to vacuum under the right circumstances, though it was hardly as effortless as the aliens imagined. The conversation at the Crystalline table grew more animated, drawing the attention of other species throughout the cafeteria. A group of aquatic delphinians, their environmental suits gurgling softly, joined the discussion through their mechanical translators. "The water traders speak of Deathworlders who consume ethanol as a recreational activity," one delphinian contributed, their voice emerging as electronic pulses. "Such a substance would destroy our neural pathways instantly." A Zephyrian researcher, his feathers ruffling with nervous energy, added his own contribution. "I've heard they ingest capsaicin compounds for pleasure." Capsaicin, a defensive toxin that causes severe pain responses in every known species except these creatures. Adnan had to suppress a smile as he remembered the curry he'd prepared in his private quarters the previous evening. carefully using the emergency food supplies they'd brought from Earth. The spice level would probably hospitalize half the station's population. Perhaps most disturbing, the Zephyrian continued, is their alleged social structure. Rumors suggest they form emotional bonds so intense, they're willing to sacrifice themselves for non-family members. Such psychological instability indicates a species barely removed from primitive savagery. This comment struck both humans more seriously. The aliens' inability to comprehend human concepts of friendship, loyalty, and altruism beyond genetic relationships revealed a fundamental gap in their understanding of humanity's true nature. As the evening progressed, more wild theories emerged from various tables. Stories of Deathworlders who could run for hours without stopping, who healed from injuries without medical intervention, who adapted to new environments within single generations, and who demonstrated tactical thinking that combined analytical logic with intuitive creativity. The most frightening aspect, declared Dr. Vexhai as he approached their table with his own meal, is their unpredictability. Most species follow logical behavioral patterns, but Deathworlders supposedly combine rational planning with emotional decision-making. Imagine negotiating with such creatures. Kinza nodded sympathetically, playing her role perfectly. It sounds terrifying, Doctor. Do you really believe such beings exist? The evidence is mounting, he replied, his feathers bristling. Multiple independent sources across different sectors report similar characteristics. Either it's an elaborate hoax or there's a species out there that violates every assumption we've made about biological limitations. After Dr. Vexhai departed, Adnan and Kinza sat in comfortable silence processing the evening's revelations. The irony of their situation was almost overwhelming. Here they sat, the very monsters that had the entire station living in fear, calmly eating dinner and making polite conversation. You know what the real tragedy is? Kinza said finally, switching back to Urdu. They're so focused on the physical aspects that they're missing the most dangerous thing about humans. Which is our ability to sit here night after night, listening to them describe us as monsters while we serve them coffee, help with their research, and genuinely care about their well-being. She paused, her expression growing thoughtful. They have no idea that the scariest thing about Deathworlders might not be our ability to survive in hostile environments. What then? Kinza smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Our capacity to love our enemies even while they plot against us. That's probably the most alien characteristic of all. As the station's artificial night cycle began, the cafeteria slowly emptied. Adnan and Kinza remained at their table, two humans surrounded by beings who feared their very existence, yet treated them with the kindness and respect that defined humanity's true nature. Tomorrow would bring new rumors, fresh fears, and continued speculation about the mythical Deathworlders supposedly hiding among them. But tonight they were simply Adnan and Kinza, representatives of a species that would soon reveal itself to the galaxy, not as the monsters of alien nightmares, but as the complex, contradictory, and ultimately hopeful beings they truly were. The greatest revelation they both knew was yet to come.